You know the scene. You're at the gym and you see that person loading up way too much weight for a biceps curl, swinging their entire body, just heaving it up. And you have to wonder, is that actually doing anything? Or is it just for show? Well, today we're going to find out. We are diving deep into the real science of one of the most popular exercises out there to separate the truth from the gym floor myths.
First things first, let's define the villain of our story today, ego lifting. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when moving the heaviest weight possible becomes the goal, completely ignoring proper form. Think of the person whose bicep curl looks more like they're trying to violently start a lawnmower. That's ego lifting.
And that really brings us to the most important question, the one you should be asking yourself. In that chase for a bigger number on the dumbbell, are you actually cheating yourself out of the muscle growth you're working so hard for? Let's figure out if your ego is secretly your worst enemy at the gym.
To get to the bottom of this, we've got to look at what's really happening inside your arm from a biomechanics perspective. Because, as we're about to see, when it comes to building muscle, grabbing a heavier weight doesn't always mean you're going to get more growth.
Now, I know this quote from an engineering journal looks a little technical, but stick with me because this is a total game changer. What it's saying is simple. A standard dumbbell or barbell gives you the exact same resistance all the way through the lift. But, and this is the whole key, your muscles are not equally strong through that whole range of motion.
And here's why. Your arm is basically a lever system, right? As you curl that weight up, the angle at your elbow is constantly changing. And that change in angle also changes your leverage. This means there are parts of the curl where you're actually pretty strong and other parts where you're much, much weaker.
So this is the big takeaway. Your muscle's ability to produce force isn't some flat line, it's a curve. You're actually strongest right around the middle of the curl when your forearm is about parallel to the floor, and you're weakest at the very bottom and the very top of the movement. So if your strength is a curve, why on earth are you training it with a straight line of constant weight? It just doesn't add up.
And you know what? We can actually measure this. There's a cool technique called EMG that basically listens to the electrical activity in your muscles. The higher the peak on this graph, the more that muscle is firing up and working hard. Now, just look at the difference here between curling a 5-kilogram weight.
And here's where the math gets brutal for ego lifters. The data is crystal clear. When you double the weight, that's a 100% increase. You do not get double the muscle activation, not even close. You only get about a 63.5% bump in how hard your muscle is working at its peak. This is the law of diminishing returns right in front of you. Heavier isn't always better. Sometimes it's just heavier.
So if just piling on more and more weight isn't the secret, then what is? Well, to figure that out, we need to quickly go over the actual biological rules for muscle growth, a process that scientists call hypertrophy.
Rule number 1, the most important one, is mechanical tension. This is the physical force you create in your muscle fibers when you lift something heavy. Think of it like you're stretching a rubber band. That tension is the #1 signal that tells your muscles, hey, you need to get bigger and stronger to handle this stress next time.
And building right on top of that, we have time under tension, or TUT. It's not just about how much tension you can create, but also for how long. Instead of just blasting through your reps as fast as you can, if you slow down, control the weight, you increase the total time your bicep is under that growth-inducing tension.
Which brings us to the secret weapon that almost everyone ignores, the eccentric contraction. This is the lowering part of the lift when the muscle is getting longer, but it's still fighting against the weight. This phase creates incredibly high levels of mechanical tension, and it is an absolute goldmine for triggering muscle growth. So, whatever you do, don't just drop the weight after you curl it up. Control it all the way back down.
And what's really fascinating is that not all muscle growth is the same. You've got myofibrillar hypertrophy. That's when the actual muscle fibers get thicker and denser, which primarily makes you stronger. Then you've got sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is more about increasing the fluid and fuel stored around those fibers, making the muscle physically look bigger. So if you're only ever lifting super heavy, you might be building strength, but you could be missing out on a lot of size.
Okay, that's enough of the science lesson. How do we actually take all this and use it to get better results in the real world? Let's talk about putting this knowledge into practice, both with smarter techniques and, you guessed it, smarter technology.
So how do you escape the ego trap? It's pretty simple, really. You prioritize perfect form over how much weight is on the bar, every single time. You add weight slowly, gradually over weeks and months. You focus on feeling the muscle work, the mind-muscle connection. And hey, here's a pro tip. Film yourself. See what your form actually looks like.
And finally, stop comparing your lifts to the person next to you. This is your journey. But here's a thought. We can perfect our technique all day long. But what if part of the problem is the equipment itself? What if the machine we're using could be a whole lot smarter? And this isn't just a hypothetical idea. This is the actual engineering roadmap a team used to solve this exact problem. They didn't just try to build a better machine. They started by deeply understanding the biomechanics of the human body first, and then designed a solution from the ground up to work with it, not against it.
The solution they came up with is so elegant. Instead of a normal, round pulley that gives you constant resistance, this machine uses a specially shaped, sort of oval pulley called a cam. As the cable wraps around this cam, it changes the leverage, which makes the weight feel lighter where you're naturally weak and heavier where you're naturally strong. It perfectly matches your body's strength curve. It's like having a world-class personal trainer built right into the machine, adjusting the weight for you constantly.
And here's the best part. Because this design is so much more efficient, it's based on smart physics, not just brute force. It doesn't need all those giant, heavy, expensive weight stacks. This smarter design actually cuts the manufacturing cost by around 30%. It's a perfect example of how better science can lead to better and more affordable technology for all of us.
So, after all of this, the biomechanics, the muscle data, the real rules of growth, it all boils down to one final question. The next time you're in the gym, I want you to ask yourself this: are you truly training your muscles, or are you just lifting weight? Because the difference is everything.